What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about how to unlock the secret Murk Camo inside of Raid Episode 3. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also let me know in the comment section, how are you guys liking this third episode of Raids here for Season 3 Reloaded? I already posted 2 other videos about this raid, one about all the rewards you can unlock, and another on how to efficiently beat the episode on Veteran to get that electrified animated camo. Although you may have used random matchmaking to beat the episode, I would absolutely not recommend matchmaking to complete this Easter egg, as we're going to talk about in this video. Please find 2 friends to actually do this with, whether it's through my Discord, the Bomb Shelter, or whether it's the group on COD 2.0, also called the Bomb Shelter. Even use the comments down below to find some friends who are down to do this with mics. I would honestly recommend that if you guys want to go through this process of unlocking this secret camo. Also, real quick, for players on PlayStation or any other console not able to actually boot up this episode for whatever reason, the glitch itself has been found to be caused by having large backpacks inside of DMZ. Not sure how this makes sense considering Modern Warfare 2 and DMZ are separate applications, but for those frustrated about that, just go ahead and wipe all your operators and regain as fast as you possibly can while Building 21 is still active this weekend, or do it over in matches of Ashika, Koshai Complex, whatever it is you guys prefer. So now what you want to carefully do to complete this Easter egg here on the 3rd episode is find 3 pieces of paper that, once put together, will give you a 3-digit code to enter on the secret computer you saw at the beginning of this video. The first piece of paper could be found by grabbing this USB stick on the 9th floor. So as the elevator does go down, you want to have somebody get off at this 9th floor here, and once again, once this person picks up the USB stick, that person cannot get wiped whatsoever while they have it in their inventory. The player can get downed, but cannot get completely thirsted by AI, cannot accidentally fall to their death. This person has to be very, very careful with the USB stick. So you also want to make sure you don't mess with your inventory on screen. Don't drop the USB stick. Don't swap loadouts, because sometimes it'll drop the USB stick and fall through the floor. So guard that USB stick with your life by guarding that player who's holding it with your life. Be very, very careful, and preferably have the person experienced with this raid hold on to that USB stick. I cannot stress how important that is. But now as the elevator stops again, you want one player to get off at the 6th floor with the backwards N on it, and have the other 2 players go down to that 5th floor with the A symbol, and the other side, which is the 5th floor, with the backwards N on it. So you have 3 players in 3 separate rooms at this step. Wipe all the AI so that you're not getting bothered, and now you can proceed with the next part of this process. You want to look at that red valve and see what number it's set to in terms of the pressure, and what you want to do is have each of the players mess with the valve until you guys all hit whatever the number is on the red valve. So keep in mind though, as you keep messing with this, the number in the red valve will end up changing. So you just want to keep paying attention to what the number is on that red valve. If you guys get this first try, you don't have to worry about this. But if you guys, let's say, all try to get to a certain number at the same time, whether it's 45 or 60, and one person was dragging a little bit or messes up, then the number in that red valve will end up swapping. You just got to pay attention to what it changes to and what you need to set your valves to. It's fairly simple. If you guys time it right and count down from 3 and all go up at the same time to a certain number, then you easily get this. But another strategy for this is also to kind of go past what the number is. So if you need to go to like 30, then maybe push it to like 33 and then drop it a little bit. So release your hold button on your interact controller or your keyboard, and then kind of start tapping it so that it messes with it again. You're able to go to a certain number with the valve, release it, and then keep tapping your interact button to kind of stay at that same place. Your goal is to have all 3 players at that same number that you need to be at as quick as you possibly can, right? But if one person messes up, then it'll be a little finicky, and you have to just kind of restart the process until you guys match it all at the same time. So the strat really is to hold interact on that valve, release it, and then tap to kind of stay at the same number so that all you guys can match that same number that's on that red valve. Once that's complete, you get an audio cue suggesting that you did something over in that step. Now, if the 2 players that are on the 5th floor need to get back up for any reason, there is a ladder they can use, and they can go ahead and do some parkour and mantle to get back to that 6th floor. Very, very simple. But now you're at the stage where you need to go ahead and activate the power for the elevator, as you usually would in the normal run through of this raid. So have one player grab the buzzsaw, bust through those 2 doors, and keep in mind now, the player that's holding the USB stick should be the one closest to the elevator, so that when the other players reactivate the power and the elevator starts moving down, that player with the USB stick can just jump right on without taking a risk of maybe jumping too far down to his or her death. So have that player with the USB stick wait for the elevator to turn back on, and have the other 2 players meet him or her later on during that step. But if you've done this raid before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just make sure you guys are all together on this elevator as it goes all the way down. Once at the bottom now, you'll walk into this room where you'll see a piece of paper sitting there on that table. You want to stow it, and when hovering over the paper in your inventory, you'll see the first number as a part of that 3-digit sequence that you need. So even if you somehow lose the piece of paper, as long as you know what number is on the paper itself, you'll be fine. But still, don't take that chance of accidentally losing the paper. Well, the second piece of paper does require a little bit more work, and honestly the most work out of this entire Easter egg. Once in this specific room, and once you've turned the power on, you can obviously generate a code to go ahead and do that 15-digit sequence. But if you insert this USB stick over at this computer, after generating a code, it'll give you a new code right there. As you can see, it'll be just a simple 6-digit code, not a 15-digit one, which is great. You'll then have one attempt to actually enter this code using the computers all around this room. And again, it's the same process as you would normally do when you do the regular episode completion, where you have to go ahead and have players go to different computers to activate codes in a certain order. We talked about that in depth in my guide already, but once you generate this new code, the 6-digit one, I don't know if it's a glitch or not, but it actually starts a bit of a countdown right away. Could be a glitch where it forces you to start this step instantly, or it could be intended that right when you generate this small code, it wants you to begin the process right away, unlike the original sequence where it actually waits for you to enter the first digit before the countdown begins for you to actually go through this process. Again, just be prepared and have players at some of the computers right away. In my game, it was 917283, so it was the easy process of having one player stay at 9, one player at 1, and one player at 7, and once we all hit those three, we have to move to 2, 8, and 3, so the player that was at 9 goes to 8, the player that was at 1 goes to 2, and the player that was at 7 can either run back to 3, or you could have the player that hit 2 run to 3, whatever it is you guys prefer. The digits will be different for you in every single match that you play. Just coordinate properly with where you want each player to go and what makes the most sense, right? What is one player closest to that another one isn't, so they can quickly hit the next number in that sequence. It's whatever you guys have to do, but if you beat this episode already, you guys probably know how to coordinate this room the best you possibly can. And what I also would say is that you don't want to really drag out each input. That's obviously the strat for the 15-digit code on a regular run through, but because of how short this code is, just make sure you don't drag the numbers too long, or else it will fail and the USB stick will be destroyed, requiring you to restart the entire mission and this whole process from the beginning, as you guys saw here in this video. But since there's 6 digits, you could have 2 players go for 2 numbers each. Whatever makes the most sense and whatever is closest to each player, go ahead and do that. But after successfully inputting that code, a piece of paper will now print out from the computer you entered the USB stick at. You want to stow it and check what number is on it when you hover over it in your inventory. And once you know that, you can now complete the normal 15-digit step that you normally would to get out of this room. Would have been cool if this kind of bypassed the original step, but it doesn't. You have to refer to my original guide if you guys need to for the best tips on how to beat the normal 15-digit sequence. But now is the third piece of paper. Last and certainly not least, it's the easiest one of all, which is great. You want to do the valve step normally here in this room. Again, having one player on this machine, checking what pressure each valve needs to be set to. Once you've done this step correctly, the water will begin to raise. Once you've done this step correctly, you also need to do the second pressure puzzle, which is only a couple of feet away. You again have one person at the main control computer looking at what the pressures need to be set to, one person at the valve on top of that tool chest, and the other person at the valve, which is underneath the water. Once you do that, you can now proceed with the final part of this third piece of paper. What you now want to do is swim just right under here and continue to wait for the water to completely raise a bit more so that you can jump here on this passageway. You then want to go underwater again right here and find the last piece of paper. I believe the spawn for the paper is RNG'd on here, but there's only so many spots that you can check. I know you can turn right, turn left, or just go straight. It'll be in one of those 3 spawns in every match that you play. You can actually see the piece of paper from a distance, so if you want to take a peek, go back up for air, then go in again to grab it, feel free. When you do grab the note though, just make sure you go straight back up where you came from so you can breathe, because you're actually seconds away from dying every time you grab this piece of paper. You don't lose the paper from my understanding if you do get fully wiped, but still don't take that chance. Grab the paper, check what the number is in your inventory, and then now you have your full 3-digit sequence, and then go ahead and swim up to where you came from so that you can get out. In my game, the numbers were 6, 8, and 1. Again, from 3 pieces of paper, I got 3 different numbers, and you want to read those numbers in the order you grab the papers in. You also just get one attempt to input the correct code, so again, don't mess this up, or else you have to restart the mission from the very beginning. So you want to go back over into this room here, and what you want to do is move the crane over to the left as you normally would. Again, refer to my original guide if you don't know how to do that. Once the crane has been moved right over to this left side of the room, you can then jump right in here and mess with that computer. You can input your digits 6, 8, and 1, or whatever your code is, and it'll instantly open this room right here where you can grab the secret weapon. It's just an M4 with a exclusive camo on it, the Murk Camo. It's not a special weapon or anything, or a blueprint with good attachments. It's a pretty basic M4 with the camo just sitting on it. What you want to do is have each of the players grab the M4, but I am seeing reports that if you don't end the raid itself with the weapon in your hand, it isn't unlocking the camo for some people, so I'm sure that'll be fixed really soon. But make sure that each player that wants the camo grabs the weapon. It's probably a shared inventory where if one player grabs the M4, it'll unlock the camo for all players in that match, but still don't take any chances. Have everybody grab the M4 and move on to the next step to finish the raid. Also, don't grab the M4 and just back out of your match. That might still unlock the camo for you, but it's just not worth the risk. So make sure all players grab that weapon and complete the rest of the episode as normal. Now, there is a bit of a problem though, where even though you might have unlocked the camo for all your weapons across the entirety of COD 2.0, it's not checking that box off at the raid menu that you you unlock the Murk Camo, that'll likely also be fixed in a future hotfix. But if it's not, then hey, you still got the camo anyway. But if you have OCD like me, then you're going to want to make sure that you have all those checkboxes at the menu of raids. I know I did that for the first 2 episodes, but hopefully that fixes at some point in the future. But there you have it. Now you have the Murk Mastery Camo, as I'm going to call it, for every weapon here in the game. If you guys are a bit upset that it's not animated, but if you're a completionist, you're probably still going to go for it anyway. But there is always a possibility, like they did with the Bowling Blossoms Camo, that they'll end up animating it in a future update. Totally a possibility. But then again, the other 2 camos you can get by beating episodes 1 and 2 of raids were not animated at all, and that was never changed. I know those were unlocked just by a random completion though, in that random loot pool. Those camos are not unlocked by doing any type of quest in any way. But also there was that Beastmaker Pro Toon blueprint you can get in episode 2 of raids by doing a very similar quest to the one that we just did. That blueprint is also not animated at all, but does have some solid attachments on it. So we're not always gonna be guaranteed an animated or type of reactive reward for doing something tedious, but hey, it's still something fun to do if you guys do like this episode of raids overall. Now I will say this Easter egg likely isn't for the faint of heart. Obviously the animated electrified camo for beating it on veteran is much more worth it. Maybe they could have swapped it where the electrified animated camo was put in the secret room and this Murk one could have been unlocked by doing it on veteran. That probably would have made a little bit more sense. But overall, if you guys don't like doing the raids, you probably won't end up going for this. But if you like the episode as it is, then you'll probably say, hey, you know what, might as well go ahead and complete this as long as I have some friends with me that know the steps. That's likely what's going to happen here. But I think either way, for doing this on veteran or for doing this Easter egg, I think getting camo unlocks are much more worth it than very basic looking blueprints or for something as simple as a charm or even a loading screen. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge fan of the fact that we're getting so many free and universal camos each and every season by doing different things in the game, whether it's taking part in an event, whether it's doing an Easter egg inside of the raids, grabbing something in DMZ. Huge fan of that altogether, but let me know how you feel about this down below. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on this free Murk Camo you can get inside of episode 3 of raids? Should they animate it in a future update? And do you think the steps are a little bit too difficult for your average player? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.